Mboweni was exiled in neighbouring Lesotho, where he also attended the National University of Lesotho. He graduated in 1985 with an honours degree in economics and political sciences. We're now joined by former professor at the National University of Lesotho, Prof Santho, who was part of Tito Mboweni's educational journey. 1985 in September, Prof, thank you so much for joining us. In 1985, you had written a recommendation letter for Tito Mboweni to the ANC, which ultimately led to him taking off to the United Kingdom to pursue his master's degree in the UK. Talk to us about your relationship with Tito Mboweni and where that had begun.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, but it's a very sad time. I have had a relationship with Tito for 41 years, from 1983, when I came back from postgraduate studies to teach at the University of Lesotho, and he was doing his second and third year. And we immediately hit it off because he was a very bright student. And then he did a course with me, 1984, 1985, on the political economy of Southern Africa. You remember that Southern Africa was on fire then. The struggle inside South Africa was hotting up. The state of emergency was about to be declared. In Southern Africa, apartheid South Africa was destabilizing all the frontline states, including Angola, Mozambique in particular, and also Zimbabwe and, of course, Lesotho. Because you remember that ultimately this led to the closure of the borders of Lesotho and the toppling of Chief Jonathan and the signing of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. Now, Tito did very well in my course on the political economy of Southern Africa, and after he graduated in September, he asked me to do a reference for him to a Mr. Mohammed Tikli, who was running the ANC scholarship program in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. I did a very good reference for him. And at the end of the reference, I said, Tito Mboweni is very committed to the liberation of South Africa, and he's very committed to his organization, the African National Congress. He will prove to be an asset to the ANC. That's what the letter said. Well, I wanted him to get the scholarship badly, and so he did. And then he went to study at the University of Norwich in East Anglia from 86 to 87, I think. And then after that, we kept in touch. And 87, he told me with great excitement that he has met President Thabo Mbeki at the London office of the ANC. And of course, as we say, the rest is history, because then they became very close. And ultimately, Tito came back to Lusaka from the UK to be in the economics department of the ANC. Then, in 1988-89, we were in touch discussing perestroika and glasnost of Gorbachev and all the global issues that were happening, which ultimately led to the decline of the socialist world. In 1990, we jointly organized with him when he came back to Lesotho to see his family. Remember, he had met his wife in my class, Mamukotla Namudise, and we organized a very successful conference on Lesotho in a post-apartheid South Africa. And he helped me to fundraise for that with the Swedish embassy in Lesotho. That conference recommended the possibility of Lesotho considering integrating with South Africa. And it was well debated, that proposal. And also it influenced the outlook of the National Union of Mine Workers on those issues. Fast forward to when he became the Minister of Labour, he appointed me to serve on his Presidential Labour Market Commission from 1995 to 1996. We gave a report to President Mandela, June 1996, where my responsibility was to do the chapter on the interaction between the South African labour market and the regional labour market, migration issues, if you like. But we also proposed in there for the first time the need for a social compact or a social accord in the last chapter of the Labour Market Commission report. If that commission report had been taken to heart, I think it would have laid the foundations for a social democratic political economic framework building on the foundations of the RDP. He then became governor of the Reserve Bank. We're still in touch. And every year, November, he organized a governor's dinner with all the diplomats in Pretoria. And he always, without fail, embarrassed me by mentioning me in the crowd that I used to be his professor, which was nice, but always embarrassing at times.
Yeah.
But for the next 10 years, he became the governor of the Reserve Bank. And then after he finished his stint, we still kept in touch. But I remember in particular, during the 2008-2009 global financial crisis, Tito was one of the global experts that were asked by the IMF to review what happened in the United States with what were off-balance sheet unsecured loans and transactions. And they ultimately recommended the need for global banks, including the biggest banks in the West, to undergo stress tests to make sure that they have enough liquidity, they have minimum reserves, and they can withstand any stress that comes. And then lastly, he was passionate about Africa. He served on the board of ASET, African Center for Economic Transformation, based in Ghana, Accra. And he later served as a member of President Paul Kagame's commission or task team on the institutional reform of the AU, and ultimately chaired the AU Peace Fund Board, which has now mobilized a lot of resources, $200 million US plus, for peacekeeping in Africa. So it's a long story.
Absolutely.
Of my interaction with Tito. Yes.
Yeah, Prof, thank you so much for being so detailed about your 41-year history with Tito Mboweni. I mean, it's beautiful to hear that he met his wife in your classroom. Sounds like quite the lecture to have been a part of. Really do appreciate it. Prof Santho, a former lecturer at the University of Lesotho, who's also Tito Mboweni's lecturer in his undergraduate studies.